write-ups here, we need to have a problem, of course. And the problem that we had yesterday, I gave it to you. It's on the top of that sheet, in fact, right? It's in bold. It's the title of this lab. So just reword that in some type of question, if you wish. Or you can use a statement too, but what is the purpose of this lab? What are we trying to find? Why are we doing this? Okay? So what are we trying to find? What's the purpose of this lab? You don't have to answer both those questions, but just have something there for to state that. Okay. Usually I put that out of 2 marks. Basically, mostly everybody gets 2 marks because, yeah, I mean it's usually pretty straightforward when that part comes. Materials. Make sure you guys have a list of all the materials that you guys used. Things like things like sinks full of water. Okay. Everything that you guys used yesterday. So think back, what did you use for measurements? What did you guys use for this or that? Make sure you write down everything there. You can just put it in list form is fine. You don't have to, write up a paragraph or anything. Yep, just list point form. Yeah. Yep. Barometer. B-A-R-O meter. M-E-T-E-R. Barometer. Okay. We're going to use these for all the labs, so that's why I have some different numbers there. By the way, materials will be about, it depends really, 7 to 10 marks usually, somewhere in that area there. It just really depends on what lab we're doing. Sometimes it'll be less as well, okay, so it's hard to say. Tomorrow, or for this lab that we did yesterday, I'd expect probably a good 7 marks for sure, probably, for sure, okay. There's probably 7 things we could list that we used yesterday, I'm sure, okay. Procedure. Okay, so procedure, I want a detailed list of the steps that are required for you to do this. Okay, you don't have to do it, obviously, don't write it out 3 times, that's silly. But to do one of these trials, what were the exact steps that you went through? Okay, you need to be precise with this. I want it, basically how I describe it is, I want it detailed enough so that if I gave it to a smart grade 9 kid, not the other ones, okay, smart grade 9 kid, they could probably do this or repeat this. Okay, so it has to be quite detailed, obviously. Once again, you can write in paragraph form if you wish, but just a list of steps would be just fine as well. Okay, things just starting right from scratch. Now I know you guys didn't have to fill up the sink full of water, but that has to get done. Okay, so if someone's coming in to do this lab, you need to fill up the sink full of water, about 1 inch from the top, 20 to 30 degrees Celsius. Okay, step 1, 2. What are you going to do next? 3, 4, okay? Or you can just have it in point form, that's fine. Usually that's about 10 to 15 marks. That's a good chunk, okay, of what you guys did yesterday. So that's a good chunk of marks there, okay? Data analysis. So this is where you're going to put any types of graphs, tables, data that you collected, any type of calculations that you did or have to do. Eventually we'll talk about percent yield, percent error. We don't have that for this lab because you don't know, I haven't told you the number, and you don't have anything to compare it to basically or anything like that, okay? So any kind of calculations or data or interpretations that you have to do. If you were doing one based on observations, right, down the road you could just make a table for yourself and say, did it react with magnesium? Yes. Did it do this? Yes or no, kind of thing. That's fine too, okay? But that's all the stuff that's going to go into that section there, all right? So any kind of interpretation of the data that you collect, any kind of calculations, all needs to go there. That's going to be a big chunk of it as well. That's going to be 10 to 15 marks, okay? Sources of error, things that are out of your control, of course, all right? It's not that you got stuck with student A. Okay, that's not something that, well, that is out of your control because I stuck you with them, but too bad. Not that, okay? It's things like, for example, what was one of the ones yesterday that we talked about? Yeah. What's that, sorry? Yeah, water, right? Water, even though you were consistent and you took all precautions to get all the water out of the lighter, probably didn't happen, okay? So there's still probably going to be a little bit of water left in there. Once again, you'll notice how I stated that. I said I did everything I could, but one of the faults with this lab is right? We never get all the water out of the lighter. I was consistent. I shook it 50 times, but chances are, you know, there still could be some water left in there. It's still going to be damp for sure. You're not going to get all that. You're not going to dry it out completely. Okay. Think of another one that you could possibly think of. The other one I thought of was, you know, if you did have a label on your lighter, even though you may have not touched it, some stuff sometimes comes off of there no matter what. Okay, or glue or whatever. And if there's anything else you can think of, you can put that in there as well. Usually I only want about 2, maybe 3, if you can come up with 3. Sometimes there's lots and sometimes there's not many. Okay, think about anything else that you did, you know, measurements and things like that, if there's any other possibilities. Don't tell me though, please, that I used the thermometer and the scale could be off, because I doubt that. Okay. You might have had a little trouble estimating what that last number was. You might say it was 23.4, and in fact there's no divisions for that, so it was really hard to estimate that last number. That might be a source of error. Okay, but don't tell me that the scale's off, because it's probably not. Okay, I find that hard to believe. Okay, so maybe even though you looked at it the best you could, it was really hard. The divisions weren't small enough, right? In some cases, so that could be a source of error as well. Okay, and then finally, make sure we need a conclusion. Just a 1 or 2 sentence thing here. You know, I was able to calculate the molar mass of the gas inside the Bic lighter by using the pressure and the volume and the temperature and the mass before and after, et cetera, et cetera. The final answer, though, is what I'm looking for here. And what I need you to say here basically is this. This here, okay, the conclusion has to answer the problem, okay? And the problem, of course, for this lab here is like, you know, what is the molar mass of the gas inside the Bic lighter, or determine the molar mass of the Bic, you know, molar mass. So I want the answer here. I want the final answer with the right units, et cetera, et cetera. You know, I determined that the molar mass of the gas was this based on these 3 calculations that I did, whatever kind of thing. Okay, so just kind of come up with a 1 or 2 sentence kind of to summarize it, and the final answer. Okay. I got a few other things to say, but is there anything, questions about this write-up stuff so far? Is there any questions? Okay. For your lab, now that's generally what we're going to do. In some cases, we will follow this, and in some cases, I'm just going to get you to hand me back a sheet with some observations. That's it. Okay, so it really depends on the lab we're going to be doing here. If we want full lab write-ups, this is as full lab write-up as we get here. Okay, I don't want a hypothesis here or anything like that. We're not trying to guess at the number. That's not our job here. So I just want these categories only. Okay. I know in the past maybe you did that stuff, that's fine, but I just want these categories, and I'm going to tell you right now, in some cases we won't even do sources of error. Okay, so that's the only stuff I want here. All right, for this particular lab, okay, you're going to have, of course, at least 3 trials. Right? You're going to have 3 trials, and this part will go all in your data analysis part. You'll have all the data there. You'll do the calculations and all that stuff. All right? So when you get all those things, so you're going to get 3 molar masses, of course. I want you to average, not before, okay? Because remember, we have to keep in mind here, and this happens quite often, and I'm not sure why, but we did one experiment here, okay? We get an answer based on these conditions. We did the second experiment based on these conditions. We did the third experiment based on these conditions. Okay? Then you average the molar masses. Okay? So I want you to take those 3 and average them. Or if you did 4, average 4 of them. Okay? After you're done averaging them, that I want in your conclusion. That's your final answer. Okay? So the molar mass average is the actual final answer that I want in the conclusion part. And if you want to calculate it there and show me in the data analysis, that's fine, but I want to see that number in the conclusion. That's the answer to the problem. Problem's what's the molar mass of the gas? Conclusion, the molar mass of the gas is blah. Okay? So that needs to be in there. So I want the average in the conclusion, all right? If you, after you calculate this, if you determine that, for example, one is just way, way, way off and the other two are really close, or if you did like 4 and 3 are really close but the fourth one's way off, then you still need to do all the calculations for that, please, but you don't have to include that at the end, okay? So if this one happens to be here, if this one here happens to be way off, okay, then don't include it, but tell me that you're not including it, right? And tell me why, okay? Like if, for example, if you know for a fact that some of the gas escaped and I said, you know, just keep doing it or whatever, that's fine. But you just say, well, some of the gas escaped, and maybe that's why this number is so bizarre, okay? So just make sure of that, all right? So average the ones that are close, obviously. How close do you need to be? Well, I guess you'll find out once you get your numbers. Hopefully they're fairly close. It's hard for me to say. If you get ones that are 20 away each time, then obviously just average the 3 of them and see what happens. But if you get 2 that are like 10 away, and then the other one is like 40 away or 50 away, then I'd probably just go with those 2, okay? Hopefully you're getting the same number every time, and if you don't, well, it's an experiment, so we'll see, okay? But you should hopefully be getting close to the same number. I'll give you a hint. The molar mass is between 0, I hope. Actually, I'll even give you this. It's between 1.01, because that would be actually 2.02, because hydrogen's the smallest gas, and 1,000. No, 100, I'll say. It's between those two numbers, 2.02 and 100, somewhere. Okay? And that's enough of that. All right? If you're not getting a number between those two, then you better look at other stuff that you're doing. Okay? Because almost always you get a number between there somewhere. If you're not getting it, better look at what you're doing. Not so much the, it should be fine. Okay? You better look at the formula that you have, how you're solving, what you're putting in there, etc., etc. Okay? So that's what I want for this lab here. One other thing, we'll make it due for Tuesday, I think is fine. That'll give you the weekend and Monday. If you want to hand it in to me on Monday for me to check over, I will do that. If you want to make kind of a rough copy or whatever, that's fine. If you want to hand it in to me on Monday, I'll check it over if I have time, which I think I should. As long as you get it to me kind of earlier in the day, I should be able to check it over and give it back to you and make any suggestions if possible, okay? But let's have it due for Tuesday. I usually make you guys type it out. I used to be big on that because that way I can read them all, right? Because that is an issue. But I will tell you this, I won't make you do that if it's neat and I can read it. Just because you can read it doesn't mean I can read it. Okay? So, you decide if you think it's neat enough for me to read. Alright? So, if you want, you can type it out. I like them typed out personally. You don't need a title page, by the way. But if you are not sure, then you better, if you're not sure, you better type it out. If you think you can make it neat enough for me so I can read all the numbers and all the writing, then you can just write it out somehow. Yep. If you're going to type it out, then yeah, I usually like to have the data typed out too. If you want to do a combination, you could do a combination, but I'll tell you right now that eventually at some point you probably should get comfortable with typing stuff out. Yeah. So if you want, I can show you how to do that on the computer someday. But we're kind of out of time here for today. I want to give you a quiz yet. But there is a way to do it. Okay. But for this one here, if you want to do a mixture, that's fine. Yeah. Okay. Just make sure it's neat. All right. And I can read it. If it's not neat, I'll probably give you a low mark. and then you can probably redo it. I'll just keep it, or I just won't accept it. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Last thing I need to tell you about lab is what? I forget now. We got talking about typing. Tuesday. I'll check it over on Monday. User right units, yeah. I better. Just the one thing real quick about your lab here, okay? Like I said, this will be on YouTube here, but just so you guys remember, when you go to do PV equals nRT, which is obviously what this quiz is on here, guys, you don't have to worry about this on the quiz. But listen, don't forget, remember, where do you get the pressure from for your lab? The barometer, right? That's not the pressure that goes in here, correct? You have to adjust to get the pressure of the gas. You need to take the pressure of the room, aka the pressure from the barometer, and subtract the pressure of the water, right? Okay? Because remember, what you've collected in that top there was water and gas. I just want gas. So how do I do that? I got to take it away from the room pressure. So this one here, you're going to find on your chart in lesson 10. This one here was the barometer, of course. If you subtract those two, that's the pressure you need to put into your formula to calculate the pressure of just the gas that you collected. Okay? And if you want me to go over that when you're done your quiz, I will do that again.